Well, it's real cold out here today and it's windy, but that's not going to stop us from testing out the newest generation of AliExpress bait finesse reels in the Histar Aurora Air. Now, in today's video, we're not really going to be testing out its casting range, how low it can cast, etc., etc. Today, we're going to focus on just how effective this new brake system is that is in this Aurora Air. And for more details on this braking system, I'm gonna put the unboxing and analysis video of this reel pinned to the top of the comment section, where I give you a very detailed explanation on how these brakes work. But basically they are a variation of Shimano's FTB that has been taken to, I guess, the next level of evolution. Now, while that sounds cool on paper, just like with any other Chinese bait finesse reel, a lot of things look good on paper, but out on the water, sometimes they don't work out so well. So first of all, we're going to see if these brakes are strong enough, and then we're going to see if all these cool adjustments on this brake system actually work. So let's get started. So the Aurora Air is mounted on my Major Craft Speed Style 6'4" ultralight bass rod, JDM of course, and it has 4-pound fluorocarbon. I think it's fluoro, it might be mono, but it's pretty much filled up. Now the line lay isn't perfect, but it's good enough. And the lure ratings on this rod are 1/32 of an ounce to 1/4 of an ounce, and I believe it has a moderate fast taper. Feels fast to me, but this is the line and rod we're using. And the lure we're going to cast is going to be this no-name AliExpress jerkbait, and I think it's almost 5 grams, so a little bit on the heavier side. But let's go ahead and set up the Aurora Air. Now that means I'm going to tighten up the spool tension to just eliminate the side-to-side play, and maybe back it off just a hair. Crank up the drag. And if you missed the unboxing video, this new brake system is called the 3-blade dart, and it's got a huge range of adjustability. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the internal dial set to 0, because even though it's 0, that's supposed to give us the most braking, and it's supposed to activate all 3 bank of magnets. Okay, and I'm gonna turn the external dial up all the way to 5. So what we're gonna do is we're going to cast around on 0, then go to 1, to 2, and then to 3, all the while leaving the external dial cranked up to 5. All right, so here we go, first cast. All right, well, with the brakes cranked up all the way, I mean, the only thing else we could do is to tighten the spool tension, which we're not going to do that. We have a completely controlled spool. Distance is probably, I don't know, 45 feet. Let's go out this way. Casting is very smooth, thankfully. Just a slight hum or buzz. Let's do an overhead. Now, just a quick note, if you go to the unboxing video and read the comment section, you'll see that there are a few people that have this reel that say that the handle slop or the sloppy tolerances in the handle is on their reels too. So it wasn't just my reel. But super easy casting with the brakes cranked up. Super easy. And this reel, with being so light and so compact, this just might be the most comfortable palming reel I have. The shape of it just fits perfectly into my palm. And man, it is just so light. Okay guys, so hopefully you guys have been seeing the casting distance we're getting out of this 0 brake setting. And one more cast, then we're going to crank it up to, or I should say we're going to turn the internal setting to 1. Okay, so we are going to turn this internal dial to 1, and if I'm not mistaken, that means 2 banks of magnets are activated, 1 is deactivated. So we're going to see if that's going to give us more distance, because we're going to leave the external brake dial to 5. Here we go. Well, I didn't see anything on that cast. Looked to be about the same. Okay, put a little bit more effort into that cast right there, and the distance was the same. But wow, this reel is so comfortable. It's so low profile. Yeah, no visible change in distance. Let me know if you see different, but I mean, I have the best view of the casting distance. All right, let's do overhead. Distance is the same. I don't think I can cast any harder without risk of snapping this lure off to get more distance. So wow, turning off 1 bank of magnets didn't result in any kind of performance improvement. So let's go down even further. Okay, so just double checking, yeah, the brake is set internally to 1. So let's go to 2. And according to the graphic on Histar's store website, I think this means only 1 bank of magnets is activated. And when I mean activated, I mean pivoting or moving during the cast. Okay, of course, leaving the external dial to 5. Hopefully this is going to give us a casting performance increase. Boom, okay, there we go. It did cast farther, not by much. I probably got another, I don't know, 5 to 8 feet. Spool does feel a little bit faster, but the reel casts so smooth that kind of hard to gauge that, but it feels faster. Let's go over this way. So this might be one of those reels that we could consider potentially over braked, which is better than under braked. So we're hitting about, a little over 50 feet on these casts. All right, let's do an overhead. Now, if you're disappointed at this, keep in mind that this spool is supposed to be the smallest spool in the world at 27 millimeters. So it's gonna have to definitely work harder to cast really long distances compared to other bigger spooled bait finesse reels. So let's say compared to the CURADO BFS that has a 32 millimeter spool, this spool is a whopping 5 millimeters smaller. All right, let's do an overhead. All right, so turning the brakes down to 1 bank activated did increase distance, but only by about 5 to 8 feet. So let's deactivate all these magnets. Okay, so we're gonna twist this dial to 3. So according to Histar, that means all 3 magnet banks are now static. So while they will provide magnetism, the magnets don't pivot towards the spool during the cast. Of course, we're gonna leave the external dial to 5. Let's see what happens. Now, I'm not gonna cast super hard just in case. All right, so we're looking at a little over 50 feet, about the same cast distance as we were getting with that dial on 2. All right, let's put some more effort into it. Okay, boom, that's the longest cast yet. That's definitely hitting 20 yards or right about 20 yards. Let's go over this way. All right, let's do an overhead. All right, so about the same, right at about 20 yards, I would estimate. And the spool, I have not seen one fluff, not one line out of place. So this reel definitely has very potent brakes. Boom. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start backing these brakes down using the external dial. So that means we're gonna go all the way from 5 to 4. All right, spool perfectly controlled. Didn't really see any kind of performance or casting distance increase. So we'll do one more. Oh, wow. I had a really violent wrist snap on that one. Saw some overrun, sorted itself out. So I think we're starting to find the limits. But yeah, we're getting a little over 20 yards. Now cranking in this little jerkbait kind of highlights what I said in the unboxing video, that the reel is generically smooth. I mean, it doesn't feel like it has rocks in its gears, but it's definitely not one of the smoother reels that are out on the market today. So let's go to 3.5. So in between 3 and 4. We're gonna find the limits of these brakes. Oh. And I think we found the limit. Luckily, that bird's nest isn't too bad. And I think this is monofilament, guys, not fluorocarbon. So I definitely wouldn't use expensive fluoro for just a mere casting test like this. All right, let's try to do a nice smooth overhead cast. Okay, so that definitely helped with the spool control. Just shows you just how important a smooth, consistent casting stroke is for spool control and not getting bird's nest like I just got right here. Okay, we'll do one more. We'll do one more sidearm, because sidearm seems to cause the reel to have a bird's nest. That's kind of strange. Some reels like sidearm better than overhead cast, and then some of them like overhead better than sidearm. And this one definitely prefers overhead casting motion, at least for me. But yeah, just a little over 20 yards is what I'm seeing or estimating with this lure. And compared to other BFS reels, I mean, they would probably bomb this lure well over 25 yards. And some of the real elite ones, you're probably talking approaching 30 yards. So this small spool and potent brakes kind of confirms what I thought in the unboxing video, that this reel is not going to be one that you want to use for long distance casting and covering water. Okay guys, since I'm the most thorough tackle tester on YouTube, we're going to do one more thing. We're going to cast with the internal dial set to 2. So that should mean 1 dynamic bank of magnets activated. And we're going to try to find how low we can go on the external dial with this. I'm going to jack the brakes up to 4. And let's cast. Oh, wow. Okay. Distance definitely choked off. Lost about a good 5 foot. And this is with the external dial to 4. So we're going to go down to 3. See if it can handle 3. Oh, my mistake. I went for a nice long bomb cast first, and then this happened. Damn, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick this out. Okay, so luckily I was able to pick out that backlash, and just a quick note, I did see some line get in between the spool and the frame. So I think any kind of line thinner than this, you may want to have to watch out to prevent that from happening. So we're going to go to 3.5 on the external dial. We'll see if this internal brake setting can handle it. And it can. Distance was probably just shy of 20 yards. Okay, had some overrun on that cast. Let's do an overhead. All right, so got probably another 2 to 3 feet on that cast. Couple of loops of overrun. Let's go down one more click on the external dial. Let's do all overhead. All right, so had a few more loops on that cast, worked itself out. So we are definitely on the limit, and we're gonna end this with an attempt at a sidearm cast. Okay, so I purposely didn't cast as hard, smoothed my stroke out, didn't snap my wrist as hard, and got a nice clean sidearm cast. So because of that, we're gonna do one more. Oh. So there we go, guys. Casting test of the Histar Aurora Air. This reel, so many good things about it that I like. Palming, the weight. Now it could be a little bit smoother, but let's keep in mind this is a, you know, $70 to $80 budget BFS reel. This is not a Flight Feather Cormorant, not a Hybo Arise Elite. So the smoothness is perfectly acceptable, and out here on the water I can't really tell that the handle wobbles. I can't tell the handle slop is there. Yep, I just checked it and it's there, but I can't really discern anything out here just casting and retrieving, so that's good. And I do hear some knocking a little bit when cranking this lure in, but man, this thing is probably going to dominate the 1 gram trout magnet, and I plan to find that out. Just doing some little underhand roll casts. Spool is perfect. But yeah, guys, the Histar Aurora Air. If you've been waiting for this casting video before you made your purchase, then hopefully this helps you out. The reel works perfectly fine. Little overbraked. Not going to be the best reel for long casting and covering water, in my opinion, and as you can see in my experience. but for the really light stuff, it should prove to be dominant. And we'll find out in another video. All right, guys, thanks a lot.